Welcome to the 2022 convention. I'm so glad to see so many faces outside of the boxes. So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Aurelie. Some of you folks call me Ari, and I am a grateful recovering pothead, passionate about service since the beginning. So, what I wanted to do, I did have someone who was going to work with me today, but unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, they won't be here, so it will be just me. So, what I wanted to talk about is our website. It is a very impressive, valuable tool, and I thank all that have put so much time and effort into this. When I talk about service, I talk about all aspects of service. The district level, the world service level, and even in our backyards community. So this is a very valuable tool to reach out to everyone in the fellowship, to gain knowledge on how to be best of service. So if you ever have a question, feel free to check out this website. You've got the literature, you've got the service. Everything is here for you. You've got the 12 concepts of service, which all of us, some of us, may not even know about, but it does exist. And along with that, we've got all of our, following our districts and stuff like that. So all this information, what districts are, what regions are, how to start a district, what is involved, and we got our wonderful service manual that was recently updated about a year or two ago, and painstakingly, we got through it, and it's always in work in progress. So we have all this value information. So people ask, what's a vice chair? What's a treasurer? All this information in detail is here for you to best serve your community as well as the fellowship. So I'm going to take us back to the home page. When we read about who is the Marijuana Act, the preamble, stuff like that should be read in meetings. You know, how it works, the traditions, the questions, sponsorship, being a sponsor, getting a sponsor, all this information. People have put a lot of information painstakingly in here for us to use. And some of us don't even know, well, obviously not in these doors, that the fellowship exists. But out there, many people don't realize that MA does exist. And with these tools at our hands, we can better inform the public. So another great thing, frequently asked questions. I'm sorry that it's pretty poor here, but you can look on our website for all this information. I just wanted to give a scale for folks to see where all this is available to you. Contact us. This is another thing that gets asked a lot. Districts, regions, how do you contact them? Who do we contact? All of this is here for you. What regions exist? What districts exist, and then I hear from the grapevine, there's gonna be a couple more districts coming in, so I'm excited about that too. So all this information is here for you, and all these links take you either to the district's website where you can see their online meetings or events and such like that. So this is all here for us to use, and I think it's important that we take advantage of it. World service, all the various positions, secretary, president, conventions and conferences. Folks ask, well, how can I get involved in literature? Go to literature. There is the literature, marijuana-anonymous.org. Trustee, you reached out to them, they will invite you to the monthly meeting. And there is so much work that gets done. In literature, there's pamphlets that get done. There's talk about new literature and stuff like that. Then we also have, let me go back. We also have, World Services. Okay, so we also have A&OP. A&OP is our literature, where our books are distributed. All that good stuff. Yeah, and Mariska, our office admin, is here too. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, all these folks, all these emails, they're not just random emails. You can reach out and they will get back to you with information. So and even here on the side, featured pamphlets. All this information is here for us to bring to our district, to bring to our fellowship. And I just think this is a very valuable resource. So, let me see here. So, I'm gonna speak a little bit on service. I very much believe in service. Service is the foundation of without service is my higher power. I had a little issue with the God thing, but you all are my higher power. And so that's why I'm up here nervously presenting this, but I am really passionate about service. So when I talk about service, I think of all aspects, whether it's reaching out to a member, being available to a member, being of service to your district, being of service now in the virtual rooms to other districts. We can all do this, but there's only like a percentage of us that do most of the work. My passion is like engaging those that are thinking about it, that might be intimidated by it. And really, it's just like a matter of like, we just share our experience, strength, hope about being of service, that we can all come together and be a stronger fellowship together. Did you have a question, John?
Question and a comment. You were talking about how with Zoom, you can have committees where other districts can help other districts, and you were on the committee for the convention, like I was, and I would hazard a guess that there was probably more people from outside of San Diego than from San Diego on that committee.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of a great example of service right there, or a bad example, depending on how you look at it.
I think it's a wonderful illustration of how people are dedicated throughout the fellowship, and without their dedication, we wouldn't have been able to put this together. Many hands make light work. And so that goes on for every committee that exists. If you're interested in P&I, or you're interested in P&P, or literature, or there's a newcomer, there is, there's support. So there's so many committees, and without the help of others, we can't do this alone. And so if you're thinking about it, just know that there are people here with, in this room right now, there are people here with decades of sobriety that continue to be of service and continue to come. So you're not alone. I never felt alone. Like when I came into these rooms, I was like, how am I going to fit in? And just by asking questions, getting involved, I'm able to stand on this stage, which if you had asked me 5 years ago to do, I would have been like, no way in hell. But that's just getting out of one's comfort zone, and you find your strengths. I found my strengths in just being able to express things that I'm passionate about, and I really am passionate about service and helping out. Like, my favorite phrase that some of you may have heard, just like, if you have a question, ask me. And if I don't have the answer, I will find somebody that does. And that's a great thing about this fellowship, because everyone wants to help, because this is what's helped us. And passing on recovery from one person to the next. In order to keep what you have, you gotta pass it on. One of the key points that I wanted to emphasize in this workshop is that I've seen with the blessing that has come from this pandemic is that we've been able to connect with so many folks that have no districts, and then District 27 came about and able to support all these little meetings. And like, have you ever been to their DSC? Oh my goodness, there's so many GSRs. I'm just like overwhelmed. I get goosebumps just to see that many GSRs, and just like people wanting to get involved, having a voice in this fellowship, because we can only do this together. Like the upside down pyramid, what is most important is those meetings. And then us at the very tip of the upside down pyramid, but like, we don't exist if they don't exist. And so by supporting each other, we can keep this fellowship growing. So what I wanted to say is that it's sad to say that I would love to see more people get involved in service, but there is not only finding folks to step up for like sponsorship, but some people don't realize that service sponsorship is also important. If we want to get people involved in service, like, we've got to make a commitment to continue to pass on the information. Otherwise, it's intimidating for anyone to actually get involved. Just like, what do I do? Where's this information? So it's just, if we document, if we educate, and just pass that knowledge on, I think I see just wonderful things developing from, not only from our World Service level, but also from our district level, and meetings that are coming together to become a district. So just engaging, like, how can we help? H&I has really thrived in connecting with various districts, and just, we're here to help. We're not just here to sit idly, we're here to help. How can we help our support is also a very important branch too, which is just like when we think about, well, how can we reach the newcomer? How can we support the newcomer? And all the trustees work together and talking with various information. It's not just one person that hears about something in particular. We all work together with our strengths, our knowledge, and come to, like, it's a group conscience. Even now in the World Service level, it is a group conscience. We are trusted servants. Well, no longer, but I do believe that all of us working together, this is what makes this fellowship just so amazing. And you know, I just would encourage, you know, that to take a look at this website, to dive in really deep, because folks have put a lot of time into this. And I'd like to give a shout out to Bill C over there, like our meeting finder. Bless you, man. I just, like, anytime one asks, well, where can I find me? I was like, we've got this amazing meeting finder. And then, well, what about the app? I'm like, you know what? Forget the app, okay? Just go to the website right now and check this out. So many people have put this together, you know, Phil and Lyle, you know, collaborators, just like hours on just tinkering this and just making it very user-friendly, because no one wants to go through and be like, well, how do I know this meeting works for me? We've got these wonderful filters too, that you can actually like check whether you want like a book study, beginners meeting, persons of color, addicts only, all these available. And also I have to put a shout out for this new feature. Any new meeting that has been put up in the last 90 days has this new icon right here. So it will stay new. Because we always talk about, we want to support the new meetings. Well, how do we know it's a new meeting? These little buttons here that says new, those are new meetings in the last 90 days. So definitely worth checking out and learning, seeing how you can use it. So all these features, this is an amazing website of loads of information. Like, when I first came into this fellowship, we were starting on the Google Drive, and I'm like, okay, I've never done the Google Drive, and just figuring out, and just like being able to share documents, edit, I was just like, this is great. And then having this amazing website, and like also like finding out events. There's this, look at this, there's a sponsorship workshop, November 6th. Did anybody know about this? See, so if you're looking for stuff, it's all here, and people are putting it, like if you've got something that you would like to advertise, you could just enter it here and submit. So if you want to reach out to the fellowship, like, hey, I've got this amazing workshop, you know, that put it in here. This is how we all support each other. This is how we carry the message. Let's see, also like in public information, I'm not gonna share the video, but there's also this really great video that I think it was Aubrey, our past trustee, put together. Like, she did an amazing job at PI. And our PI person that this year is also doing amazing things as well. So it's just all these little features, all these little bits of information was all put together by members of this fellowship, volunteering their time, because this is what helps us stay sober. This is what helps me stay sober. And I just would like to emphasize, if you have a question, if you want to learn something, check out this website, check out our service manual. You have no idea how many times people ask me, like, well, where, or how does this work, or who is this? I'm like, I refer them to the service manual. I was like, he's like, I'm not gonna teach a person to fish, not fish for them. So I'll be like, here you go. It's like, this was put together. This is like all the information you're gonna need as far as that. And if you can't find it there, then reach out. Reach out to the fellowship. Look, you got the H&I handbook, you've got the outreach handbook. This is more like talking about what H&I is, not on the World Service level, but how we can support at a district level. And each committee is working on their own handbook as well. So more will be revealed, and so right now, these are all the handbooks we have available. Before, it was included in the service manual, and it just got really like challenging to put any updates. So now it is separate from the service manual, and the committees individually get to work and improve on the handbook, which then will have to be approved by the conference body of whatever given year. But yes, sir.
Just wanted to add that in that service menu up at the top, there's a new thing that says World Services, and all the positions are listed that are available, and it talks about how long the term is and who that is, so you can contact that person if you want to get on that committee or whatnot. And
Absolutely.
all the details are in the service manual.
Yeah, all the details are there. So if you want to know more about a committee, it's there. You want to contact the current trustee, it's there. And there's no sobriety requirement to join a committee. We talk about like in a meeting level, like for facilitator or secretary, depends on what side of the country you're on. It's so coming up. That's another thing, coming up with names, like let's be consistent. Because it's confusing the newcomer. It really is. So yeah, so anyone can get involved. Anyone. So if you got personal knowledge about, if you're interested about internet, you can join the internet committee. And it's just like, if you're like I've met a couple of people, they're professional editors, join the literature committee, you know? It's just like, if you've got some experience in human resources, my goodness, your support could really use your help. So it's just, there's just so many places that one can actually get involved in. You don't need to like have a certain, like, you don't need to have completed your steps, although it is helpful to be involved in your steps and get that going. But you know, like part of this process is just getting involved, for me personally, it's like getting out of my head and just like doing something for someone else, like it was done for me. Someone helped me out, and I'm just passing that along to the next person. So please, at your leisure, take a look at this website, give it a little bit of dig deeper, and like if you have any questions, there are many people here that have been involved in this that you can ask questions and get involved. Like Jules said earlier, we have 12 of our trustees here, so you can talk to them directly and find out how can I get involved in the committee. Yeah, I'll just wrap up with this. Just like service is definitely the thing that saved my life, and I will continue to be here. I'll dabble in every bit of service I could possibly, because you guys are my higher power. So I will just take questions if you have any. If not, thank you for allowing me of service. Yes, Rich.
Hey everybody, Rich here, Grateful Recovery Marijuana Addict. Hey everybody. So I have a question. I sort of know the answer to it already, but like, you know, do you have to only join one service committee, or can you join multiple committees? If
You can join as many as you like, but I always strongly suggest that also taking care of yourself, working on your recovery, being of service is definitely very helpful. But if you have the bandwidth to do so, and also if you feel like you've taken on too much, communicate with us. There is no shame in it, like, you know what, I'm gonna have to step back. So like, I'll be back, and it's just like, none at all, none at all. More importantly, it's like taking care of oneself. We want you to stick around. We want you to be here. We want you to be safe. And this fellowship, I've had my hang-ups, and you guys can still continue to like support me, so thank you so much.
Right.
Yes, John.
I think we're about like a half an hour into this workshop, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, with this many people who are dedicated to service or otherwise, why would they be here, you know? Maybe it'd be helpful for us to spend some of the remaining time talking about, you know, the challenges in our program because of, you know, people's reluctance to do service. I mean, unfortunately, in volunteer organizations, and ours in particular, there's a certain percentage of people who do probably, you know, like maybe 10% do 90% or something like that. And, you know, that's something that, you know, I've always thought about and tried various things on, but I still find very challenging is getting more people involved. And, you know, some of it can be through sponsorship, but even that doesn't seem to be working as well as I would think it would. So what are your thoughts? And maybe we can throw it out and have a discussion on it.
Okay. I don't know if it's more about thoughts, but like my experience is that, you know, I have a sponsor both in AA and MA. And I was challenged with finding a sponsor that works for me. Both of my sponsors from both fellowships, they kind of vary as far as what kind of service they do. But I've been told from other sponsors that have many sponsees that one tells their sponsee to like get involved in it. I have never had to tell any of my sponsees to get involved in service because I show up. You know, I do service. I practice what I preach. I don't tell them, you need to do this. It's like, I say, this is what I'm gonna do. This is how I'm gonna help. And every last one of them has stepped up to be of service at the district and world service level without even asking. So I guess to answer is just being an example, showing them how it works, giving them the tools, and then letting them figure it out. I don't pressure anybody into service, but I just basically tell them like, this is what helps me, and this is why I am very passionate, and I just like, you know, all the cravings, all that, there's no time. There is no time. This is what I do, and I enjoy doing it, and I'll continue to do it, because this is what's really helped me. So I would say that like sharing information, encouraging, supporting, and for those that are actually involved in service and hold a service position, you talk about the service role that you're in, particularly months before you are actually gonna, you know, your term comes up. So I'm a GSR in a different district, and I've already started telling folks like, look, my term is coming up. This is what a GSR does. You know, it is a year-long term, and sobriety time kind of varies between districts, but finding that information like from that particular district, you usually get all the details. But basically, it's just, I let people know, I was just like, look, this is really important. And what a GSR does is like, I bring your group conscience to the DSC level. And without that, then we don't have a voice. And I think it's important. It really is. Because DSC would not exist without the individual meetings, and so on and so forth. So by sharing the information on what's involved, how to go about it, you know, give it, you know, if I have to regurgitate all the information, I will, until they're like, okay, that's enough. That's enough, Aurelie. You know, I got it. I got the message. So, you know, just being involved, sharing information, and like encouraging, definitely encouraging. Sometimes folks like private chat me and tell me like, I really like to do this, and I may know a little bit about their history. It's like, I'm glad that you're interested. But when they talk about their reservations, I'll be like, well, like something you should talk with your sponsor. You know, we will be here for you when you're ready. But meantime, please ask as much information and questions as you have. We're all here to help. So I hope that answers your question. Yes, Marisha.
You know, one of the things that I do is I go to meetings and I listen to people, and I'll hear a newcomer say something, you know, and, you know, like they're swimming in their misery or they're, you know, whatever they're doing, and I'll chat with them and say, hey, you know what, we really need a secretary for this meeting, or we need a tech host for this meeting. Would you consider it? And I just drip on them until they take the position. And District 2 has secretaries because I'm doing that. Right? And so it's like those of us with time, or those of us who know what's needed, can just dribble on these people. So anyway, oh yes.
Lovingly suggest.
Yes.
Lovingly suggest.
Repeatedly.
But you know what? They're happy and they're thriving in their recovery now because they secretaried that meeting for 6 months.
Yeah. Maurice.
One thing I realized I know almost everybody in here, which on one level is great, and on another level is very sad, because almost everybody in here already does a lot of service and has been for quite a while. So where are the new people to step up? And one of the things that a lot of areas does differently than the West Coast is in terms of being secretary of a meeting. You're the chair for a lot of places. It's a month at a time. But I used to go to a meeting in Ann Arbor pre-COVID that they did it a week at a time. And it was part of the script. I need who will volunteer to lead this meeting next week. And we could get a lot of new people who were afraid to get into service. They were not afraid to commit for the next week.
Right.
Yeah.
And once they started doing that a few times, they were willing to step up to other things. So I don't know I'm not saying we need to all change our meeting structures at all, but if we can find things that are, in quotes, non-threatening to newcomers, you know, they may be like, oh, 6 months secretary, you know, I just can't imagine. I don't know, that means I'm going through Christmas time, and I don't know if I can stay clean during Christmas, or whatever. Whereas if you've got a short-term commitment and they say yes and they do it, then they maybe find out that they're more comfortable taking on a long-term commitment as well. And so it would be a matter of brainstorming in our own meetings and groups and districts what can we make that's really short-term, that's non-threatening to a newcomer to get them to get involved in service?
Yeah, I like that idea. Thank you, Maurice. So maybe an idea to jumble down like Service September or something like that, like encouraging meetings to maybe, okay, this month we're gonna do like ask for a volunteer once a week. But it's all based on the meeting's group conscience to figure out how they want to structure their meeting and to gain that support and to encourage folks to be of service. Christopher.
Thank you. Yeah, in another program, similar to what Maurice said, that we had 3-month commitments, 12 meetings. You kind of like, and it was like, okay, that sounds doable, you know, and we would easily get people to step up.
Yeah, that's a great, yes, absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name in the very back.
Brendan.
Brandon.
How you doing? Brendan.
Hi.
District 8. So, yeah, I mean, I agree, like, we often have issues getting commitments, individual meetings for, 6 months. That's how typically District 8 does it. But I know the one Philly meeting, or the Philly meetings we do 1 month at a time. But unfortunately, like, we still also have an issue finding service, even with those shorter, month at a time periods. I think it's a little easier, but I agree that I like some of the recommendations, but obviously, as you mentioned, it's individual meetings through conscience. But on a separate note, I had just a question about the website. So is there something on, you don't need to worry about, but that's fine. Is there something on there that shows, like, within the committees, how many open positions there are, or how many positions you're looking for, or
From the
anything of that
committees?
nature?
Let me see here. Where was that, Phil?
No, but I think that's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
Because that could like show like which committees need the most help, or and I don't know.
That's a great idea,
And
definitely.
maybe even the list. I don't know if people feel comfortable with the list of who's in the committee. I don't know.
All the committees need help.
All the committees, that's right.
If
They're-
you're interested in a committee, get people involved.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, all the committees need help, and that's what we always say. But there's a difference if I'm looking at the website and I'm like, I might be interested in this, and I could click on it and be like, there are 3 positions open, and like I could click on it and be like, oh, now I get emails for that. Like that would be different than just saying, all of them need it.
Yeah,
So,
I think it could be a little bit more tangible.
I've got a question along that line.
Yes, Joe.
What do you guys think a position in a committee is? Because in the last few years, I've been outreach, PNP, I'm PNP now. Like, ANLP is the only one that's had formal positions.
Yes.
Most of them, we ask you to come in and there are things that we might be working on, but we invite you guys to be like, well, where do you see that this committee could help? So it's not that there are jobs to be done, it becomes, we know there's more that we can do. Like, how can we help? So I always wonder, because people have asked me that too, I'm like, there's no positions in outreach. Come in, come visit meetings, let them know we're here and we can help them. And most people, it's like, that's all we asked of you, and those people never show up. If it wasn't for Rich, like, outreach wouldn't have done anything while I was
I have a
president.
question for him.
We invited anyone to come in, and that's all we asked of people.
Are you saying that people on committees don't know what to do on the committee?
Well, most times we don't have discrete tasks that need to be done. ANLP is one of the few that there are things that need to be done. Like on a schedule, we know what we need to do. The rest of the time is things come up and we deal with them as they come up.
Well, you need new meeting ambassadors, things like that.
So outreach needed people to go visit meetings. That's the only thing we asked of, and that's what I told everyone. That's what we need of if you're interested in outreach, and 2 people stuck around.
In that case, it might be helpful to, like, if people are on the outreach committee and they're like, what do we do? Then the outreach committee meets however often they do, and then there's a discussion about like, oh, what did you, right? Like if there's some accountability. So a discussion about what meetings did you go to and like, what did you learn? And that.
We did, and people stopped showing up when we introduced accountability for those things.
Mariska and then Phil.
I was just gonna add that, you know, the way the system works is that we have the trustee of that committee who's taking the information from the MAWS board meeting that meets every week, and the conference has agenda items that that committee is to work on. So there is a plan in place, but you know, we're not just potheads. We're people in recovery, and we're here to be of service, and that's part of our 12-step program. And so if that committee has questions, they need to contact that trustee.
Yes, very good. What, you keep moving around.
Well, I'm trying to-
Phil.
It's all about that mic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no recording. So yeah, it took me a while to figure out my first year as a trustee how to get my committee on the ball. Even though we have this great tool called Trello, which I really recommend to any committee, and we can help set that up for you. It just allows whatever the tasks are that you're hoping to get done on like a whiteboard, that you can move things around to be, this is what we finished, this is what's still pending, this is what's like needed to get done ASAP, and like each member of the committee can not just look at it, but can like be assigned that task or that they're involved in completing that task. I really also love this idea of having like a page under service called like SOS or something like that, where we can say, you know, exactly, like people can request, committees can request like, hey, we really need somebody with this particular skill set, or we have this thing that nobody seems to want to do on our committee. Like for example, we're trying to make the mobile meeting app happen, and unfortunately, like the primary person working on it has very many, like is doing a heck of a lot of service. And we've put the word out that we're looking for a developer, but many people express interest, and then they hear about the framework we're using, they're like, oh, no, they peter out. But like this idea of just putting it on the website and saying, hey, somebody who knows this framework, you know, this is like something that we probably need somebody 3 months to work on, so it's done, and then we can do the updating of it. That would be like an incredible facility, and I'm just gonna say this as an Internet Committee trustee, we're gonna make this page happen. You know, attending this today, a session that I might not even have come to if I weren't doing the recording, like we will do this. This is a great tool that we will make available to the fellowship for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, if you happen to want to learn an app development framework, join the Internet Committee. We're going to go out for dinner tonight, so just be at the front door at 6:05 and join us for dinner, and we'll tell you all about the framework.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say also, and I see you went in the back, as my temporary ring as literature trustee, like we also have a spreadsheet of various tasks for my predecessors, is like what projects are being done, what projects are kind of like in the works. And it really is involved of like, what are you passionate about? How do you want to help out? Like, you know, before I had a couple of folks that were interested in working on the God thing pamphlet. Well, they've disappeared, okay? Then there are folks that are like, I'd like to improve or update the dangers of cross addiction. Well, that's a great pamphlet to work on, but this can only happen if people come to the committees and get involved. Like, it's not just the trustee. The trustee is there to help, like, with the information and guide, but ultimately the committee members are the ones that actually help make this happen. All these pamphlets, the book, everything is by members such as us, okay? So this is how it's gonna happen. Gentleman in the back, sorry, I didn't catch your name. You, yeah.
Hi, I'm Joe.
Joe! Good. I need my glasses, Joe.
So at my local level, like meeting and district, we have people in service, and I don't want to say like they're like a service, you know, hub, but like we're not encouraging the spirit of rotation.
Yeah.
How? Because there may be people that would be interested in positions, but when you have like the same people saying yes to everything,
Yeah.
and those positions aren't available, like, how do we encourage that?
It's a good point.
I'll just say plainly, I have no bones in telling a person, I was just like, I think you served your time here, you could do more elsewhere. And I lovingly suggest about the committees and what, I was just like, you got a passion for service, you got information, it's like, how about extending that to something else and allowing the space for the newcomers to develop some service muscles. That's the best way. It's just sometimes people like to really do one thing and do it well and continue. It's just like, and I'm all for service. I'm never gonna diminish anyone for being a service. It's like, how about trying something new? And even those that are like solidly in those services, just like, if they got a strong record of service in that, ask them if they would be willing to serve a sponsor. That's another level. And then maybe getting people involved into, encouraging that rotation as well. I think rotation is really, otherwise, it's this, all those that are here, I'm pretty sure it's that vast percentage of people that continue to do service. And so we need to create that space for the newcomers to be of service as well. John.
One of the things that I found was helpful in getting that rotation of leadership is term limits. Like in our district, you can do a position for 2 years and then somebody else's turn. I mean, we don't mind it if people do a couple of years because you get better in the second year than the first year, particularly things like chips and lid or things that are complicated. But, that rotational leadership, and also we try to, as much as we can, invite people to come, and do service. And then if they do show up, we ask them what they want to do. And if, somebody's willing to do it and they aren't, so crazy they can't do it, then we certainly support them doing it, And so, like you said, bringing new people in is really good. And then, a private conversation isn't a bad thing too. Like if somebody's, trying to, we don't have that problem of having too many people to do service and not enough positions for people who want to do it.
But what about in individual meetings, maybe?
Well, I think rotational leadership is just really, they do that at the World Service level too.
They do.
Do it at the meeting level.
Yeah, all levels can be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, that's really important to keep that flow and the thought of just, anyways, Phil, probably after you.
Phil from Rich. Hey, everybody, Rich here, Marijuana Addict. I just wanted to tell a quick story, and encourage people to get more involved in service and different levels of service. When I was, I went to the Marijuana Anonymous conference in 2021. They had you put your name on the board in order to be potentially selected as a trustee. And I put my name on the board, and I left my name on the board until almost the very end. You're allowed to pull your name off at any time. At the very end, I had to pull my name off because I was scared. I was scared of that people don't like me, I'm not going to be voted in. But I was more scared of actually getting voted in and actually being a trustee and doing the job. And I very, very much regretted that. And then when the conference reconvened, and this time I left my name on the board. I did not get elected. I lost to the hat, which is fine, but a spark was lit. And then at the 2022 conference, I left my name on the board. I got elected as a trustee. So I would encourage everyone, if you're doing meeting level service, think about doing district level service. If you're doing district level service, think about doing world level service, which starts with joining the committees, join any of our committees, and then if you got the 2 years, leave your name on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Yes, Maurice.
I would, Maurice, Marijuana Addict, I would agree with a lot I've heard. I love the idea of rotation. I mean, that needs to be brought up to districts and meetings. I think that's good. One thing that Jomar had mentioned, and then Phil with the Trello, I'm wondering if the specifics often become very, very helpful. Like, I need you to visit meetings, like going to that example, Jomar, of outreach. I need you to visit meetings. Okay, that's great. I'll visit meetings. When? Oh, I'll get around to it. Whereas you could even put on Trello or whatever. There's this meeting in New Zealand that we haven't heard from in a long time. Who is volunteering to go to the New Zealand meeting at this time on Zoom? and you get somebody to volunteer to do that, and there's a lot greater chance of that meeting getting visited, and then they'll report back. And
On the calendar.
specificity is so, I've found in different leadership roles, whether recovery or other areas, without specificity, nothing happens. We need volunteers. Oh, that's great. I need you to do this job for me. Oh, I'd be happy to.
For this length of time.
For this length of time is another thing. There's that thing called the SMART goals. You can Google it. Specific, measurable, or some of them say specific, measurable, and motivating, achievable, realistic, and relevant, and time bound.
Yeah.
And so, you do those things, okay, we need somebody to visit this New Zealand meeting and report back by this date. Oh, okay. Why? Because we haven't heard from New Zealand and they're supposed to be the contact. Wonderful, and you go, anyway, it's a lot easier to ask, and to ask individuals, would you do X for me? Yes.
Yeah.
Would you do, is somebody willing to do service? Yeah, nobody does it.
Yeah, and I will say this, if someone comes to me with an idea, you better believe it, I'd be like, thank you for volunteering. Because that's what it's all about. There are no stupid ideas. This is how all the various, all that information came about. Is like, hey, I think we could benefit from this, or hey, have you thought about this, and putting it all together. So if you've got an idea, reach out to someone in the fellowship, and but also be prepared to be of service. Okay, so it's just yes, ma'am.
Well, I was just thinking about how I got involved in the GMO ban, and we all sat in a room and went around the circle, and they said, "Why are you here?" I was like, "Because I'm angry," and so I got involved, and we banned Monsanto from our valley, and so it's finding out why the people are there. So that's one thing. The other is that the service burnout happens, right, and it's real. The other is service sponsorship, because we don't know how to do what we're doing unless the person before us shows us or teaches us. That's how this program works. The other thing that, I was taught when I came into this program was that a secretary's position was 6 months. And when that person's 6 months is up, if there's nobody to take that place, that meeting folds. And there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah.
Because we can't enable this program. And these people won't stick around unless we teach them.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Yeah, I like to thank you, Mariska. I like to call it the tough love service approach. I would tell, I've seen where the same people stepping up, and I know they're really passionate about service. Just look, it's we've got 30 to 40 people attending this meeting. I know there's some people in here that can carry for a month or something like that. Just I'll be very direct with the group. This is your meeting. This is not, so-and-so's meeting. This is your meeting. If you really strongly benefit and depend on this meeting, then be a part of it. Don't, I will attest, I was scared about a lot of the service positions I had, but I was just you know what? My motto is everything I ever wanted and everything I ever desired is on the other side of fear. And so I don't let it get me down. So take that as you will. And I just want to say right now, I was not as optimistic that there would be so many people here in this room. So thank you, because it just fills my heart with joy to see that there's so many people just passionate about services as I am, and go out there, spread the word, tell them about what you learned, share with others, because that's how we can get stronger as a fellowship, and grow. Because these last couple years, we've grown just really fast, and filling in on is just oh, there's so much to do, there's so much to do. I prefer having stuff to do than nothing at all. And keeping coming. And I will wrap up with this. One of the things that I always say to folks about, they're just GSR, I was just hey, come check out our DSE meeting. Watch a bunch of former stoners get organized. It's hilarious. It's just because these are all people that truly want to see this community thrive and support one another with heart. Jomar.
I guess it's awesome to see a know a lot of the faces that are sitting in here. We do a lot of service. We forget to tell people how much we enjoy doing this. We're quick to gripe about how much work we put in and how nobody does any service, and oh my God, I'm doing all this. The meeting that, like my home meeting, my in-person home meeting, everyone was happy to be of service, and that's what they brought in every day, how happy they were to be there and to do that. And that meeting never had problems filling service positions, ever. Someone was always willing to do something. And I find a lot of the meetings where they're struggling is the one person holding down all the things, telling people how horrible it is that they have to be doing all the jobs. They forget to tell them how passionate they are about that meeting, why they're doing what they're doing. And not being afraid to be like, I've done all I can, I'm walking away. If you guys want this to keep going, do it. You can hold it down. Like it's spiritually fulfilling. Like my last few years of world service have been tiring, incredibly tiring, but they've also been the best years I've had in the program so far. Like it's been the best time I've ever had. It's been joy along with a lot of pain. And I try to tell people that so that they're like, come in, like you don't understand how happy you'll be. I see some of those people doing meeting level service, like some of them are DSC members now. Like, remember to tell people how great it is, not just how much work you're putting in. Please.
Yeah, and to echo that, just like when you think about, like, when you hear a bad review about a business, okay? Like, that person will tell 10 other people. But if you hear positives, like, that person will tell 5 other people. If we, like, you know, say all the negatives and don't mention the positives, then that's what they hear. Christopher?
Thanks. I hope MA grows as big as AA one day. I've toured the AA World Services offices in New York City, and they have a staff member for every single World Services committee. It's not just one office admin. Yeah, there's an office manager, but then they have staff on every single committee. And they rotate those staff positions every 2 years, I think. So it keeps things fresh for them. I hope MA needs that one day.
We are definitely striving for that, for sure. But we can't do this without the help of you all. Sharing this information. Our grandfather program is definitely, was like the skeleton, but this is our program and what we make of it. There's a lot of great people here, there's a lot of passionate people, and I'm just so blessed with it. We got less than 10 minutes, less. Does anybody else want to comment? This is your meeting, folks.
I just want to say a big round of applause.